Hi, I'm Rodney Johnson, co-editor of Boom and Bust as well as Survive and Prosper. I was in California last year on business and I joined a friend and his group for dinner. The talk turned to politics and taxes, and one of the guys brought up a friend of his in Virginia whose family owns a lot of land. However, the guy in Virginia doesn't talk about owning the land. Instead, he says he's simply a caretaker. The Virginian points out that through taxes, the state can take away his wealth at any time. That seemed kind of harsh. I thought he was being overly dramatic. And then I got to thinking about General Motors and all the other instances where courts and agencies and tax authorities twist the words of agreements and the rule of law to get what they desire, which is usually somebody else's wealth. This made the gentleman's comments ring true. Well, now it's happening again. It's no secret that Detroit's bankrupt. I've often written and spoken about a particular group of bondholders who lent money to the pensions and are going to get the least amount of money back. Well, now comes a carve-out on the asset side of the ledger that only a gangster could love. One of the jewels of the city of Detroit is the Detroit Institute of Arts Museum. It holds a world-class collection. As it reads on their website, the museum is owned by the city. This might give somebody the mistaken impression that the museum and its collection could be sold to pay the city's debts. But that would be wrong. Last summer, the Attorney General of Michigan claimed that the museum and its contents could not be used to pay the debts of the city, even though the museum and its contents are the property of the city. That was kind of weird, to say the least, and then it got weirder. A group of foundations from across the country have banded together to protect the museum and its contents from being sold piecemeal or held hostage for any purpose. The group has pledged more than $300 million to purchase control of the museum and its contents from the city, and the state of Michigan has pledged to match this price. Well, that would give Detroit $600 million in exchange for control of the museum. But there's a catch. The proceeds from the transaction cannot be used by the city to pay their debts. Instead, the proceeds have to be delivered in total to the pensions of the city workers. So the city owns the museum and all the art. The Attorney General says the city can't use the museum and art to pay its debts. Yet a group of foundations, plus the state, can buy control of the museum and its art from the city and then direct where it goes? I'm sure Jimmy Hoffa is laughing in his grave wherever it is. Aren't the pensions simply one group of creditors? Isn't this exactly what the Attorney General said wasn't legal? That is, using the museum and its art to satisfy the debts? Well, of course it is, but that's not the point. The sole intent of this legal financial contortion is to take control of the assets from the city so that this doesn't happen again and funnel the money directly to a preferred group, the pension funds, at the expense of the bondholders and everybody else who has a claim on the city. Nobody cares that the city mismanaged itself into this position, and no one cares that the bondholders have just as much of a claim on all the assets of the city as do the pension funds. Remember, be careful when and where you invest. States can take it away from you if they feel that they've made a determination of a better use, and that better use is usually somebody else's pocket. The they in this instance is anybody who gets to decide how assets are divided, judges, administrators, or congressmen. It can't be any clearer that when push comes to shove, law becomes a matter of opinion. Thank you.